So 2023 is just around the corner, and arguably the first major release of the new year is the hotly anticipated Dead Space remake. Touted by developer EA Motive Studio as a faithful and imaginative revision of the seminal 2008 sci-fi survival horror, the creative team are harnessing 15 years worth of game development technology to craft an even more labyrinthine USG Ishimura. The Necromorph, Dead Space's shockingly violent mutant monsters, will return in unprecedented visceral detail, owing to the rather gruesome-sounding new peeling system, which will reportedly intensify gore by fabricating intense layers of flesh, tendon, and bone into every severed limb. The Necromorph's insatiable appetite to enact extreme and indiscriminate violence on all living life forms is matched only by their exceedingly grotesque appearance. Even 15 years after the original's release, their appearance still holds up as some of the most memorable monster design in the history of video games. Amongst the most intriguing in appearance are the Wheezers. Decidedly less violent than practically any other breed of necromorph, instead the Wheezers are stationary terraformers, pumping noxious gas into the environment from their ginormous exolungs. First encountered in Dead Space's 6th chapter, the toxic green air of the Wheezer's lair and their strained breathing are seen and heard first. They are relatively harmless, at least initially, due to their immobility. See, the Wheezers are immobile, their bodies forcibly hunched over in kneeling position with their arms and knees fused together. Despite their oversized lungs and stuck-together limbs, the Wheezers are arguably the most human in appearance of all the necromorphs. Observing the strained exhales of the Wheezer for any length of time is one of the most chilling experiences in Dead Space. They have enough humanity left to almost feel sorry for them. Wheezers are an interesting necromorph to discuss, as throughout the pantheon of Dead Space's mutant creatures, Wheezers arguably illustrate the biological life cycle of the parasitic necromorph more effectively than any other. Their hunched-over design, their fusing of limbs, their massive lungs, these features serve a sole purpose to toxify air, thus creating a new ecosystem only the necromorph can survive in. They are an incredibly thoughtful and well-conceived design. Only 8 Wheezers are encountered by Isaac in Dead Space, all of which are located within the USG Ishimura's hydroponics bay. To kill them is to simply stomp on them, although they'll succumb to any of Isaac's weaponry except flamethrowers, for their poisonous gas starves an environment of oxygen, creating a vacuum in which fire cannot exist. Once all Wheezers are killed, the USG Ishimura's air recycling system kicks in to filter all the airborne toxins out of the environment. All Wheezers must be killed to grant Isaac access to the food storage facility and the lair of the next necromorph in this feature, the Leviathan. How the Leviathan came to be aboard the USG Ishimura is a strange one. It drifted through space before colliding with the mining ship. How it came to be floating in space in the first place is anyone's guess, but the prevailing theory is that it was hurled off Aegis 7 by the hive mind, perhaps in a calculated attempt to deliberately intersect the USG Ishimura's trajectory. Due to its hulking great size, it's almost certainly composed of biomass from a host of dead colonists back on the beleaguered planet Aegis 7, and it's been gobbling up corpses for considerable time. Once it collided with the USG Ishimura, it then decided to barricade itself inside the food storage facility after making its way through the hydroponics deck. The air quality of the hydroponics area took a drastic downturn shortly after the Leviathan's arrival, with one surviving crew member dubbing the creature with its name due to its sheer scale. Anyway, Isaac never sees the creature's full form, only its massive tentacle-sprouting mouth. Isaac's original plan to rid the ship of this beast was to reformulate the Wheezer's poisonous air into a substance capable of killing it. The plan proved ineffective, however, forcing Isaac into showdown with the fleshy gaping maw. Encountering the Leviathan is the polar opposite to the relatively docile Wheezers. Its tentacle attacks are swift and sweeping, easily capable of unsteadying Isaac. The trick to success for Isaac using the food storage area's zero gravity was to jump from one end of the room to the other whilst the Leviathan was in sweeping mode. The shorter the jump the better, as this allowed Isaac more opportunity to scythe at a tentacle's clearly marked weak spots. Once a tentacle is disabled, then the Leviathan unleashes its secret weapon, organic bombs spewed out of its mouth. The open mouth presented an obvious weak spot in which to use kinesis to fling a bomb back, or unleash gunpowder into its briefly open mouth. Moving on, and another Leviathan-esque necromorph required Isaac's dispatch, and that is the Slug. This was yet another hulking great tentacle-clad beast, yet this one was clinging on to the outside of the USG Ishimura's hull, blocking the ship's communication equipment and the eventually futile message to the USM Valor. There's a minor theory that the Slug and the Leviathan are one and the same, owing to their similar appearances. Despite Isaac only laying eyes on the Leviathan's mouth, it's clear with the similarities in tentacles and their telegraphed weak spots that these two beasts are cut from similar cloth. The Leviathan resided in the food storage facility though, whilst the Slug is clinging on to the communications array, two distinctly different parts of the ship, so it's more likely they derive from similar origin, perhaps splitting it two at some point in their development. Either way, the only way for Isaac to dispatch the Slug, sending it spaceward whence it came, is to deploy the Ishimura's anti-asteroid cannons. Interestingly, the Slug appears docile until fired upon, in which it then uses its tentacles to hurl objects at the tower in Isaac's direction. It's a trickier fight than the Leviathan, requiring Isaac simultaneously target the tentacle's weak spots while shooting all space debris hurtling towards him, paying special attention to any ultra-destructive gas canisters. Disable each of the Slug's tentacles, and it's only a matter of time before its grip loosens suitably for Isaac to blast it back into space. With EA Motive Studios' take on Dead Space reportedly being a faithful remake, it's entirely conceivable we'll be squaring up as Isaac to the Leviathan and the Slug again. The Wheezers are integral to Necromorph lore, so we'll expect to see their grotesque gasping lungs again. With minor characters from the original game receiving more airtime, plus expanded lore from Dead Space 2 and 3 making their way into 2023's remake, it's not out of the question new, more imaginative, more twisted forms of the Necromorph threat will appear too. We'll just have to wait and see. With a January 27th release date, we don't have long to wait. So what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.